anyway, in the interest of trying to give you guys a little bit of help, here's what I suggest we do. So first we're going to open up the V-Ray asset editor. Okay, and first things first, I want to make sure that our settings are set up. So this is the default settings that everybody, when they first launch V-Ray, they get. These are the things that I've mentioned in a previous video that you need to change right away, or you're spending way too much time watching renderings happening instead of working on your model. First things first, slide the quality down to draft and shut off progressive. We don't want progressive or interactive running at this stage, just because every time we move our camera or change something, our scene will try to regenerate, and that's just slowing things down at this point, and we're just trying to figure stuff out right now. So the next thing you need to do is go into global illumination and change brute force to a radiance map. With these settings, things will render pretty quickly, and they won't look awesome, but they'll be enough for us to figure out whether lights are working or images are visible and so on. Okay, so now that we've got that straightened away, the other thing that I want to mention is I told many of you that the issue with light coming in through the windows is often a matter of what type of material have you applied to your windows. If you want to use a V-Ray material, which I highly recommend for the glass, what you want to do is on the glass materials, go down to the very bottom, and any material that's got the word window in the title is suitable for a window. They make this material specifically to work for windows, and if you use just any of these other tinted colors, I think you'll get different results than what you are expecting. Especially for windows, we just expect them to be mostly transparent, and if it's nighttime, we want to see reflections on the glass. Okay, so the way we can use this material is we just simply drag it into the scene, and there we go, it is actually in the scene, and we want to make sure that it has been applied to our actual glass material. So I'm going to open up that group and select those faces, select this and say apply to selection. Then I will close my groups. I've just quickly added a white material to the interior of this space, and I guess I could quickly put something on the floor, maybe some kind of wood laminate, nothing too exciting. Again, add it to your scene, apply it to your selection. Now, I noticed some of you were having issues with the size of the map. If there is a dimension in the actual title of the material, you need to make sure that you've gone into the SketchUp material editor and set the value to the same as that. So I'm going to close this right now, and I'm going to call up my material editor here. I'm using the Mac version right now simply because I can make video recordings easily on the Mac, which I can't do on the PC very well. Anyway, so here's our wood material, and you'll want to edit it. In the PC version, there's a tab called Edit. Click on it, and we want to set this value here to the same as the value that was printed in the title, which is 250 centimeters. And once we've done that, you'll notice that the image on the floor instantly updates to be approximately the right size. Now, you don't have to make it exactly what was written there, but if you're in that ballpark, it's going to look more appropriate than if you don't change that value. It will look far too small. Some people prefer a slightly bigger plank, so I'm just going to bump that up to 10 feet just so that my pieces of wood look a little bit bigger. Anyway, that's just a cosmetic thing. I'm going to close my group so that my image comes back, close my material editor. Okay, now, currently it is set to 1:30 in the afternoon, And if I were to just render it now, I will get sunlight coming in, and outside is nighttime, so that's not very appropriate. So what I want to do is I want to make it nighttime. Um, and since I can kind of see a little bit of the sky, if I wanted to get, cute or technical, all I need to do is set my time to the time of day that I feel that this might be, and who knows, maybe it's around 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. I don't know, but if I were to render it now, obviously the sun would likely disappear, and we're also not getting any light coming in, which makes sense since it's nighttime. Okay, and just to be sure, if it's not my glass that's blocking things, if I were to hide that and just have a big hole in my wall, if I were to render it now, hopefully it's still going to be black. And it is. Okay, now how do I make this image show up? Okay, so in the V-Ray material editor, I need to create an emissive material. Okay, so if I click on create and drag emissive into my scene, I don't know if I really need to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to change the color of the light to white. Now what I need to do is I need to apply my outdoor background image to this material. And I simply click on the little checkerboard here to the right of the color and choose bitmap. Now it's going to ask me to find that picture, and here it is. I've put it on my desktop, and now it's going to apply that picture to that material. So I now have a more or less a glowing image that I can now see if I render. So if I were to render the scene now, oh, I need to apply it. I didn't apply it yet. Sorry. So if I were to select this surface and call up the emissive material and say apply to selection, that would help. Now when I render it, let's get out of our group here and see what happens when we render. So now you can see the image outside is actually shining into the interior. It's even creating enough light that the floor is sort of reflecting some of that intensity. I can adjust it to be a little bit brighter, but I'm going to recommend you don't go any higher than 2 because then things start to look kind of weird outside. In fact, I think 2 is going to be too high, but just for demonstration purposes, this is what it will look like if we now render it at 2 value. So you can see the exterior is much brighter, the sky is a lot more illuminated, and I'm even picking up a little bit more of the reflection on the floor. So this is how I would create the image to be visible regardless of whether I have the window there or not. In fact, I should unhide the window to make to show that it's still coming through the glass, which was a V-Ray glass material that I applied. And now you can see I even have a stronger reflection on the floor because it's picking up some of the mullions of the window. Okay, so that will work for a nighttime scene or a daytime scene. Again, I'm not going to recommend you go that high. Usually anything between 1 and 1.5 is more than enough to give us the intensity that we need. The other thing I highly recommend is when you have a background image, we want to make sure that our shadows and things have been turned off for that object. So I want to go to my entity info dialog, and you'll see these little boxes here. I'm pretty sure it's the same on the PC as not, but if you hold your cursor over, it says don't cast shadows. So I want to make sure that that's off. I don't want it to cast shadows, and I don't want it to receive shadows either. Okay, so make sure that those two things have been set. That way, the sun won't do anything strange like cast a shadow from this picture onto your building. And just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you that I do not recommend putting your picture too close to your building. If it is too close, even though you have don't cast shadows selected, sometimes it will still look strange. Make it bigger and pull it away from the building, and things should work much better. Okay, so that's a quick little workaround to get your exterior images or your background images to show up in your renderings. So just set the time of day to something at night, and for your nighttime background image, just open up the window or the shadows dialog and make sure that you've set this to something much later than when the sun would be up. So 1 a.m. is also a good time, and when you render, then you won't be getting any influence from the sun or the sky or the environment because it's night. Okay, so all of the light coming in from outside will be generated from your image. Okay, so I think that should help most of you get your images to show up in the background. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Talk to you later.